What's up, guys? If you'd like to know why I scratch built this cool billboard, then stay tuned. Hey guys, welcome back. Corey from KRPmodels here. Today I wanted to welcome you to my first how-to video. Today I'm going to show you guys how I scratch built a modern billboard with lights. This is my first how-to video, so bear with me. Been wanting to make one for quite some time and figured this would be a good project to start with. So, in order to complete this project, you're going to need a few tools on your computer. You're going to need a printer. First off, you're going to need Adobe Photoshop. And you're also going to need Google Earth. You don't really need it, but in my instance, as I'm modeling a certain place, I like to use this tool. It's been invaluable for me. For all the modeling that I do. There's one cool feature on here that I'll show you in a second. But as far as billboards, they come in all shapes and sizes and different ads, and ads get changed monthly, weekly, so always changing. But if you don't know what size you really want to use. Alright, for example, this billboard here, there's a cool tool here on Google Earth that you can use to measure the length of the billboard. If you exit out of Street View, well, when Google Earth wants to work, one second, you can go up to this ruler icon here on the top, and I'm actually going to measure the shadow of the billboard to give an exact linear footage of the billboard with the little pointer. Just go from corner to corner, and we got 39.5 feet. If you guys can see that. So basically 40 feet. The billboard I'm going to make today is going to be 20 feet. Don't need it that big. Also, another thing I wanted to show you guys is go back down to street level. You can actually zoom in with your right mouse button, and if you want to use this particular billboard like I did, not all of them are gonna come out good as far as the quality. This Google Earth likes to blur things in certain random areas, and like people's faces here in this car. It's kind of weird how they got it set up, but like this sign over here says 14 North. Yeah, it's kind of weird. So if you do want to use this picture of this particular billboard like I did, you can go ahead and zoom in, kind of get it as straight as you can. Go ahead and save the picture onto your desktop like I've already have, and you can bring it into Photoshop. Oops, wrong one. Go ahead and zoom in. You can get your marquee and crop it out of this picture. File new. Paste. What I like to do is usually auto contrast, and get the correct size you need, go to image size, and I need 1.5 inches. I went ahead and cut the styrene out to 20 scale feet, measured it by inches, and basically translate it into here. 1.5 inches by 0.648, I believe. And you want to make sure and jack up the resolution, because when you shrink the pictures, the pixels get a little screwy. So that's basically how you do it. So something I forgot to mention on the image size, you take the constrained proportions off when you want your custom size, because it's going to want to keep the picture the most, how do you say, well, anyway, it's going to want to keep the picture like more like the original, but this one is kind of squeezed a little bit together to fit the size that I requested. So, but you can also, you know, just use the internet and pick and choose excuse me, whatever billboard you want. There's kind of limited, slim pickings on certain things. Geez, I don't know what happened there. Okay, so, you know, pick and choose what you want, take it into Photoshop, and kind of do what I just showed you. It's pretty easy. If you guys aren't familiar with Photoshop, I'm not an expert at it, but you guys can get the hang of it real quick, for those of you who don't know about it. But that's basically how I do it, and with a lot of my signs and pictures and all that, it's kind of how I do it. So we'll move on to the material list that we're going to need, and we'll get started. Alright, so to complete this project, we're going to need some 030 styrene sheet by Evergreen, some 3/16 tubing from Evergreen also for my pylon, some 030 by 125 strips from Plastruct. You can get those from Evergreen also, I just happen to have Plastruct. And some 060 by 1.5 millimeter strips. And the infamous street lights. I'm going to be robbing the lights off these. I only need a couple. You don't have to use the lights if you don't want to. It takes a little bit more time, but it does make a whole lot of difference. So we'll get started. So I'm gonna take my sheet of styrene, get my scale ruler. You're gonna have to forgive me because it's the first time I've been doing this. See if I'm in frame here. Okay, so basically I already have it measured out to 20 feet. Let's double check here. I'll continue my measurement. I like to use a mechanical pencil in case you need to erase anything. And we'll go ahead and do 11 feet. What I like to do is make a little crow's foot on there, so to be more precise. And I'll go ahead and get these cut out, and then we'll move on to the next stage. Alright, well, I got my pieces cut out here, pretty much identical. They're not perfect, so I'm going to give them a little sanding with my little nail file here. Just go around the corners, clean it all up. You're gonna get little grooves on the edges from the hobby knife, so you want to clean that up. Just take your time, make sure they're nice and flat. So these are 20 by 11. The billboard, the picture itself is going to be probably about, I don't know, 10 feet. You want to leave a little room on the bottom. So I'll get these cleaned up, and again, we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so I have my pieces all cut out, all sanded down, nice and smooth. Next thing I want to do is simulate wood paneling similar to this piece right here. This is the old Blair Line billboard I had laying around, and so now I want to take my ruler and a sharp hobby knife and start making a bunch of score marks to simulate wood paneling. This is going to take some time, so okay, so now I have my wood paneling effect done. Next thing we need to do is create the walkway or manway, whatever you want to call it. So I have my 020 styrene strips here, and I'm going to cut these out to 20 feet. Let's see here, 20 feet. Okay. Hope you guys can see this. Sorry if you can't. I'm going to double check my measurements here. And that one looks a little long. I'm going to trim it up. That one's good. Okay, so I'm going to take some plastic weld, just dab it along the bottom here, and what I want to do is set it right on top of the strip, and as soon as it gets a good bite on there, I'm going to manipulate it to where it's nice and flush. Put it down on the table and use my hobby knife, get it squared. That looks pretty dang good right there. Take some more Plastruct and just go along the back. And get it in there real good. Doesn't have to be too clean because these two pieces are going to be butted up against each other, so you won't be able to see all the messiness of the glue. And that looks pretty good. So I'll go ahead and do the same for the other side. I've already roughed up the styrene. It's ready for primer. Okay, before we head out to paint, we need to take 060 styrene, and I'm going to cut these about 9 feet. This is going to be our backing or spacing between the two billboards. So I'm going to cut two of these at 9 feet. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's really not going to be visible. It's just something to give the two billboards even spacing. So what I like to do for this part is I'll dab a little white glue. Get most of it off and just kind of guesstimate, I don't know, maybe 3-4 feet from the edge. I like to do the white glue first because it'll give me a little bit of playroom. Bring it all the way down to the bottom. About right there. Looks good. So now that I'm happy with that, move this one over a little bit. Alright, that looks pretty good. So take the Plastruct again and let it seep into the side, do its job. Again, I'm not being too precise about this, it's going to be hidden, so let that dry. And now we need to take our pylon and cut it to size. So I'm just going to do like maybe an inch. That's all we need. Try and do this without warping the tube. Oh, there it is. So make sure you use a fresh end for the billboard to sit on. Nice and straight. Here's the cut side. If it's a little oblong or whatever from bending back into place. So now we have pieces ready to paint, and I'll see you in the garage. Welcome to my redneck paint booth. So I got the pieces all prepped up, ready for primer. I'm gonna go ahead and give these a quick coat, and go ahead and airbrush them the appropriate color I've chosen. So let me go ahead and do that, and we'll get on to the airbrushing. Doesn't need very much, just enough for the acrylic paint to stick to. Of course, my rattle can's acting up, but it'll get it done. And that's pretty much it. That's all we need. Alrighty, let me get my airbrush prepped up, and we'll let this dry a little bit and get a coat of paint on it. Alright, well, I've gone ahead and mixed up some paint in my Harbor Freight Special here. This is Essential Pneumatic. You can get from Harbor Freight. It's a pretty good airbrush. You know, I'm still learning, so I figured I'd practice with this one before I go and buy a Badger or another high-end gun or something. But yeah, I just mixed up some colors, basically acrylic paint thinned down with a little bit of 70% alcohol, and that's about it. I'll go ahead and give these a coat of paint. Alright guys, now we got the pieces all painted out of the redneck paint booth. So now I want to pick out a couple billboards I want to use. I'm thinking I want to use this one here. 2 double cheeseburgers for $3.33. My favorite. Go ahead and save that image. And I also picked out another one. This one's local to Mojave. Diamond Jim's Casino. That one looks pretty cool. 10 minutes north of Lancaster. Go ahead and save that one. And I'll go ahead and take these in Photoshop, get them properly sized, printed out, and we'll move on to the next step of gluing them onto the backings of the billboard and get it finished up. Alright. Alright guys, I'm back in the garage. One quick step I wanted to add is I like to hit these pictures with a little bit of a crystal clear. It does several things. It seals the paper when you cut it. It brings out the coloring a little bit. Gives it a little vinyl look to it, and it also helps the white glue, which I use to glue them down, not to bleed through the picture. So I'll go ahead and give these a couple sprays. That's it. Let that dry. Okay, now we're ready to cut these bad boys out. Usually cut away the excess paper. And I can get the sides pretty good normally with the sharp pair of scissors there. Doesn't have to be exact because it's most likely going to be hanging off the edge, so you might have to trim it. For the long pieces, I like to take especially for the bottom half of it, I will take my razor blade and cut it. You want to keep your razor fairly horizontal, that way not to fray the paper. Go over it a few times. That gives you a nice straight cut. Alright, if you guys aren't sleeping yet, I appreciate you watching my video here. So this is a very important step. I'm going to be mounting these on the backing. So what I normally do is just dab some white glue. This is Elmer's glue all. And I'll take my tweezers. I'll grab the picture and basically start dabbing each corner in the beginning. Dab a little bit in the middle. I'm way out of frame, I'm sorry. See if I can move the camera here. Okay, so I'm dabbing here and just putting some in the middle and then just dragging it across, trying to get most of the glue across the whole billboard, but not too much, so I'll keep dragging it to where it's completely covered, and then I will check and see, and it looks pretty good, and I'll put it on the billboard here. Start with one corner, work my way down. And you only got about 30 to 40 seconds, maybe a minute, to work with this. So want to make sure you have some Q-tips and some toothpicks handy The bottom half is the most important part. You want these two parallel. That way your billboard doesn't look out of place. So you can see there's some glue spilling out of the side there. So I'll take a Q-tip and wet it. Just dab that off. I'll double check again. Looks pretty good. So I'll just go ahead and squeeze all the rest of the glue out of it. And as you can tell, measurements weren't exact, close enough, but not enough to ruin the whole thing. So I'll just go ahead and trim that with a pair of scissors or my hobby knife. So yeah, that's basically how you do it. Double check again. Left side looks a little low, so I'll adjust it. And that's pretty much set. Squeeze all the glue out. And that's it. So I'll go ahead and do the same with the other side. Trim it up and move on to the next step. Alrighty, so I took the liberty of printing out some Lamar logos. And now we're ready to glue these back to back. So I'm going to take some white glue. Actually, I already have some dabbed out here, so and dab that on the back of one. And this is going to give me some playroom. Go ahead and just glue those two together. Sit it down flat. Press it with your fingers. That way they're both level. And just sit there and play with it until it looks right. That's looking pretty good. And once that's close enough, I'll go ahead and zap it with some CA glue. So next step, we'll go ahead and take our pylon here. We'll take the fresh edge, and what I need to do is make a couple of score marks right in the middle. Because I need to notch out an area for the wires to feed through. You don't have to do this step. You don't have to add lights, but I'm going to go ahead and do so. So now I have a nice little notch for our wires to feed through. So already went ahead and took the liberty of painting our light fixtures when you guys weren't looking, for the sake of time. We're going to take our lights here and we're going to go ahead and feed them through down the pylon. Oh, you know what? Sorry about that. We're going to have to put the light fixtures on first. Jesus. Okay. So we're going to feed the wires through the light fixtures. Oh yeah, let's cut these ones. Okay. So I'll feed those back down in there. Pull them all the way through. And you can see how they're kind of bent up a little bit. What you want to do is put a little downward bend. That way when you pull them through, they're going to sit nice and flat. Won't be sticking up too much. And if they're being a brat, just go ahead and take your tweezers and press them down in there. And again, these street lights are really cool. I like them. They're cheap. There's a seller on eBay that's a USA seller. Sells the same thing that come from China. So it doesn't take a month for your stuff to get to your house. So if you can, just always try and get USA seller stuff. But majority of the crazy little electronics like this come from China, so plan in advance. So I'm gonna feed the other one down. Give it another little bend there. Okay, so now we're ready to feed these through the pylon. We're on the home stretch here, so bear with me. I'm gonna bunch these up together and just feed it right down in there. And once it's home, bend it down a little bit. Bend that one down. And the most difficult part, I've already marked my center line on the bottom here, if you can see it. So going to put a couple dabs of CA glue here on the pylon. Not too much because I need a little working time. That's if my tip didn't freeze over. Yeah, of course it did. Okay, so now I got these things fairly where I want them, so I'm going to put a couple dabs of CA. Again, not a lot because I need some working time, so I'm going to line up my pylon with my center line. Here we go. Alrighty, well, after gluing the billboard onto the pylon with some CA glue and adjusting the lights, you have a pretty good looking billboard. Took me about 3 hours, including making the video, which is my first time, so forgive me. But let me go ahead and get these installed on the layout and we'll see what they look like. Alrighty. Alright guys, after about 45 minutes of wiring and a couple of beer breaks, I finally got the billboards mounted down and wired up. I think that turned out pretty good. So I'll do a little demonstration here. I'll turn the main light off and the billboard lights on. Alright, here we go. Here's the Carl Jr. side of the billboard. The light's kind of bleeding over. The camera can't really pick it up, so all in all, in all actuality, looks very good. I'm pretty happy with the way they turned out. Here's the McDonald's we just completed. They both look really good. Alright guys, well I hope you enjoyed this video. This is my first how-to video, and I'll try and make some more. Leave some comments, suggestions, would appreciate it. You guys have any ideas or again suggestions for the layout, let me know. I'm open to anything, and I hope you enjoyed this video. KRPmodels here. Make sure and subscribe and like this video, and I will see you on the next one. Now I have to edit this thing, so it's gonna be a long night. Okay, see you.